What's up, guys? We're back with week two of the TTJH sports and fourth and five college football fantasy. Every week we pick a quarterback, running back, two receivers, a tight end, an edge rusher, or defensive lineman, either or, linebacker, cornerback, and safety. We're back with week two, Josh, and week one was definitely an interesting kind of playing field in the college football world. We saw, what were some of your biggest takeaways from the opening week of college football?
I thought the opening week of college football was, well, you had chaos like the TCU Colorado game. I thought that was super fun, and I even thought Colorado could win that game at first. I'm not doing like a whole I told you so bit or I knew it kind of thing, but I just felt like there was a lot of hype coming in for the Buffalo, and I felt like there was just so much like enthusiasm around the whole fan base that really helped them get to that level and win that game. What else? I mean, you had your typical Bama blowout, Georgia blowout, Florida State over LSU. I'm sorry, Tyler. I know it hurts to talk about that probably, but um, man, Florida State looked good, and they got the fourth ranking overall, fourth in the AP poll, and I think they truly deserve it. And Clemson going down as well kind of shocked me, but Duke is a very good football team.
Yeah, no, there were definitely some fireworks around the country. I mean, that Florida State LSU game, like you said, I was there. It was definitely a interesting atmosphere. Those Florida State fans are passionate and they traveled. When kind of the whole city of Tallahassee was kind of struggling with that hurricane, they kind of rallied around each other, and the Seminoles got it done. And they're going to be a hell of a football team. They really made a statement. Probably the biggest statement out of any school in the country, I'd say, this past weekend. So yeah, I'm fully bought in with the Seminoles. I mean, they beat my school, but hey, man, I'll give respect when respect is due, and the Seminoles deserve a lot of respect. So, and yeah, like we said, we're each picking a quarterback, running back, two receivers, a tight end, an edge rusher, defensive lineman, linebacker, cornerback, and safety. We will tally up all the performances on each side, and whoever comes away with more performing players per position wins the week. And we'll do this every week, and we'll be picking new players. We made a rule actually that we can't pick a player back to back weeks, just to kind of varietize it, make sure we kind of get all the noteworthy names out there for each other and things, and just kind of highlight the talent around the country. At least every other week, if not more, if not less. And yeah, Josh, you won last week 6-3. Kind of had a lot of guys on the defensive ball kind of go your way and everything. Just so you got first pick this week. Tell me who your quarterback's going to be, and we'll get started here.
Oh man, okay. So for those who don't know, before we even hit record, we were chatting about different rules we were coming up with. I'm dipping into the group of five for my quarterback. That's why I asked about it. So we came up with, if you pick a guy in the group of five, they have to be playing up. And this week, my quarterback is actually playing up. I want to go with Tulane quarterback Michael Pratt. He's playing Ole Miss this weekend. He gets Ole Miss at home. He was 14 of 15, 294, 4 touchdowns last week. We saw Tulane beat Caleb Williams and USC last season in the bowl game, and I think they could do it again against Ole Miss. Early in the season, I really do.
Yeah. So for the people who, of course, wouldn't know, Josh sent me a text today saying, "Hey, my quarterback is a sleeper," and he kind of, put that thought in my head. I was like, "Who's he thinking? Who's he thinking? Maybe Shador Sanders. Who knows?" But I love that pick. Tulane at home. It's definitely going to be a big game. That of course, with that Texas Bama matchup, it'll kind of get swept under the rug, but. No, they had Ole Miss at home, and then top 25 matchup, and it's going to be as good as a college football fan can hope for in week two. But with that being said, I mean, we just got done talking about the Florida State Seminoles, and I'm sure this won't be the only Seminole to come off not only both of our boards but my board. I'm going with Jordan Travis. He balled out this past weekend, 23 for 31, 342 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and he had a touchdown on the ground. That's it's about as good as a guy can do in the opening weekend. So against a good LSU team as well. So I'm fully bought in with the Seminoles. I'm fully bought in with Jordan Travis, and I think this is his year. He'll end up in New York by the end of it. if not holding the Heisman Trophy. So I'm going with Jordan Travis, and he's my quarterback for this week.
That's an awesome pick, especially because they're coming off a very good game, very hot game. And, he is looking the ball. I think, dude, he could end up in New York. If he plays like that every week in and week out, he's got Clemson later this month, which is awesome. Like what a early season for or early schedule for college football this year. But also, I believe they play Southern Miss this week.
Yeah,
So I
they
mean
got
that
Southern Miss this week. Yeah,
this
so
this is a numbers game. I
yeah,
think for the Seminoles, especially coming off of that, this is kind of a stat padding game for the Seminoles in Jordan
yeah, for
Travis.
sure. And of course, that went into my decision and all that to give Jordan Travis the ball, and we're going to see what he does against Southern Miss. I don't expect anything less from what he did last week, and I think he's just going to keep the ball rolling. So yeah, let's move on to running back now. I mean, some guys had some stellar weeks on the ground. So tell me who your running back pick is going to be.
Well, let's just say, speaking of guys who were on fire this past week, I'm gonna redeem my freshman token. I'm taking Colorado running back Dylan Edwards.
That's my pick right there.
Yes.
He was the first name. I was like, I'm getting my freshman out of the way, get my true freshman out of the way, and kind of a little bit of me knew you were going to do that. So that's on me. Gotta come back, but nah, love that pick. Versatile. Was
Four
catching
tight.
passes too. His biggest impact wasn't even on the ground; it was in the passing game. So when you have a running back that's able to do that much, I don't blame you for picking him, regardless of him being a true freshman or not. No, really like that pick for sure. For my running back, Clemson's been kind of getting a lot of backlash with the 28-7 loss at Duke, but I still got faith in the Tigers, man. I'm going with Will Shipley, 17 carries, 114 yards on the ground, and he scored their lone touchdown. So when you're putting up numbers like that, when nobody else on your offense really seems to be producing in the same way, I got to go with a spark plug like that. So I'm going with Will Shipley. They got Charleston Southern, really good chance for them to bounce back. And yeah, I still got my trust in the Tigers.
I do too. I think this game against Charleston Southern is going to be such a kind of a learning experience for the Tigers and how they bounce back, how they answer, getting Cade Klubnik kind of really going. Because, like we said earlier, they do have Florida State later this month. So, getting him going and getting Shipley going early this year is going to be a key.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. So let's go over to the receiver. The receiver position, like we said, we're picking two here, but we're going to go with wide receiver one first. Josh, who's your pick?
Well, like you said, there are going to be some Knowles going off the board. And, everybody's going to say, dang, he's about to take Keon Coleman. Well, I'm taking Johnny Wilson, actually. I like Johnny Wilson, 7 receptions, 104 yards against LSU. I think it's his time to get his hat trick this week against Southern Miss.
Yeah, no, I like that pick, man. Honestly, you could have gone with either one. It would have been a great pick. But I'm saving Keon Coleman. I don't know if, it's just, I mean, he balled out, no doubt about it. He's definitely legit, but I got to go with my pick. I'm going back to Colorado. I picked Travis Hunter at the cornerback position. And of course, he's the guy who plays both ways. There's nobody really in the country that I think does it better on both sides than him. I'm going with Travis Hunter at receiver this time. 11 receptions, 119 yards. They kept him out of the end zone, but I mean, he's got Nebraska. I feel like he can really get in there if he's got 11 receptions at least. So I'm going with Travis Hunter, one of the best athletes in college football. And I feel like that being said, you can't really go wrong there.
No, he's overall like arguably could be the best player in college football right now. I know we're all riding the hype train and we've only seen him really play one game at this level, but man, it was such a game and it's hard to not want to go with anybody on that Colorado roster. You could pick an entire team from the Colorado roster practically and get away with it because it's so fun and they're going to be a awesome team to watch this year.
Yeah. One of those teams kind of like gotta get on them while they're hot type of thing, because they're playing some good football right now. So, and how about wide receiver two? Josh, who's your pick?
Wide receiver 2, he's playing the Miami Hurricanes this weekend. He had Let me see, 8 receptions, 2 touchdowns, 115 yards. I'm rolling with Evan Stewart at wide
Yeah.
receiver. I think he'll be in most of the game, if not all the game, and I think he'll get his numbers against the Hurricanes.
Yeah, I really like that pick. Like you said, they're playing a good Miami team that's unranked right now, but if they were to come out with a win, they could easily sneak into the top 25. So, like you said, he's going to be out there probably the whole game. Really good chance for him to stack up his numbers. So, no, I really like that pick. And for my wide receiver too, I got to go with Keon Coleman. I got to have him in there. Like I said, you're not really sure how the system is really going to be consistently, but man, after the weekend he had, I got to have him on my roster. 9 receptions, 122 yards with 3 touchdowns. When you got a guy like Johnny Wilson there as well, and he's still that much, you got to take note of that. So I'm going with Keon Coleman. Like I just kind of said about the Colorado guys, got to get them while they're hot. And Keon Coleman's probably he's doing as well as any receiver in the country. Probably one of the best right now coming out of the season opener.
This Florida State team, I'm about, and I know you go to LSU, so let me get this statement out
I
quick.
will agree with it. I'll agree with whatever you're going to say with this team.
This Florida State team, crazily enough, with the in terms of the amount of weapons on this team, it reminds me of Burrow's LSU. It's like you can't cover everyone, and you're gonna give up a big play no matter what the play is. It's Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, Jaheim Bell, Jordan Travis can take off. He can throw it. This Knowles team is all over the place in a good way, and it seems like they are serious.
Yeah, no, dude. If it's any year for that team, it's this year. They, like you said, they kind of have all the pieces together in a 2019 LSU-esque way. I don't know if it's to that magnitude because looking back at that team, you're like how were they all on the same team at the same time, type of thing. So I don't know if it'll be that, but it'll definitely be a team that could compete for a national championship, no doubt about it.
Oh,
So
for sure.
yeah. So with that being said, man, let's move on to the tight ends. Who's your pick?
All right, so here I am taking the Longhorn off the board. I'm taking Jatavian Sanders going up against Alabama, 44 yards, 1 touchdown against Rice. He's always been one of yours favorite targets, him and like Worthy. So I took Worthy last week, can't take him this week. I think he's going to make a big impact, just being able to split up the defense a little bit here and there, just kind of giving Quinn help.
Yeah, no, I really like that pick. Like you said, they're going to be heavy on Worthy and all those receivers, but Sanders is going to be a guy when he's not blocking, he's gonna be open. So I really like that pick, and he got in the end zone last week too. So seeing him do that right off the bat is definitely really comforting for you. So with my tight end pick, I'm going to Ohio State. I'm going with Cade Stover, 5 receptions, 98 yards against Indiana. They kept him out of the end zone, but he led the team in receiving yards. Out of the receivers they have on that roster, I feel like you can't really ignore that. Because of course any team and their grandmother that's playing those receivers are going to be locking them down hard, and teams are going to forget about guys like Stover who can easily get open and throw defenses off guard. And so I'm taking Stover, and yeah, he's my tight end for the week.
Dude, wait, so who does Ohio State play again?
They got Youngstown State, so it might be a game where their starters might come out in the third quarter or so, but I mean, the production will be there regardless,
Oh yeah.
of how soon it comes. So, yeah, I'm going with Cade Stover for week 2.
That's a great pick. I like that one. I might have to steal that one later, actually.
Hey, man, we'll be stealing a lot of each other's picks. So I'd say that's going to be a common theme.
It's hard to when they're playing like this. It's hard
sure.
not to when they're playing like this. With that being said, it's let's change over to the defensive side of the ball and talk defensive linemen. I guess I'll pick first. I'm going with Texas defensive lineman, of course, Tavondre Sweat going up against Alabama. I think this is one of those matchups where your starters are going to have to step up and make a play. They're going to have to step up and play most of the game. And I just see him in this whole time and really stopping the run, especially because I know the quarterback situation, it's Milrow, but it's still like, I feel like it's going to be run focused this week.
Yeah, no, I like that pick too. I mean, like you said, it's all Texas's fate is kind of going to be down to if they can stop the run.
Mhm.
type of thing. So definitely, getting on their defensive players is definitely going to be a smart decision. But I mean, let's take a little intermission here. Of course, you being a Texas fan, got the jersey and everything. Just kind of give me your general thoughts on that game going. I mean, it's probably the game of the week. I mean, definitely I'd say is the game of the week against Alabama. Kind of just give me a rundown of what you're thinking going into that game and what your honest prediction of that game is going to be.
Oh no, a prediction on the spot. Okay. Well, honest opinion, I can give you an kind of arrogant, ignorant opinion, or I can give you like
I want
this
the
this
full blown
this
honest opinion.
this game scares me because they won last year in Austin, but at the same time, it's a different team. I'm not taking anything away from Milrose, Simpson, or Buckner, but until they prove otherwise, they're not Bryce Young. And I just think that's the difference right there is Bryce Young. We gave Bryce Young the ball back with way too much time left. If the same thing happens this year and we give them the ball back with under 2 minutes left, will those quarterbacks come through? And I think staying close the whole game is going to be the key for Texas in this one.
Yeah.
I still think Texas is gonna win. I still do. I truly believe it. People can call me crazy all they want, but this is a team to believe in this year in Austin. And they started slow against Rice, but they picked it up. They looked really good in the second half. The defense, I will say, I know it was against Rice, but this defense looked better than any defense I've seen in the past 5, 6 years watching Longhorn football. This is a whole different attitude towards Longhorn football. I mean, the hype surrounding Texas almost meets that of the hype surrounding Colorado right now. And I think it's hard for me not to drink the burn orange Kool-Aid, but I it's hard for me not to want to pick Texas in this one, especially like when you follow Texas, it's Quinn's down 20 to 25 pounds. He used his leg some this past game, and you never saw that before. There's just, and we're not hurt. We're not hurt. We barely lost to anybody in August. Like we're looking good right now. Now I will say we got beat up against Alabama last year. So how we come out of this one's, I don't know.
It's one of those games where you kind of are like, man, even though it's week two, you got to just kind of put out everything out there and be
Mm-hmm.
like, we're going to come out with breaks. We're going to come out with bruises, but going forward, it's a huge resume booster if you can come out with that W, so kind of just looking at it that way. But for my defensive line pick, my edge rusher pick, I'm going with Jameel Muhammad out of USC. He had a heck of a week that's going to go under the radar. 6 tackles, 4 solo tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble. Like, he dominated out there and against a Nevada team that they seem to have had an easy time with. But man, the USC defense. I mean, everyone's going to look at Caleb Williams and be like, man, he's carrying USC, but that USC defense is no joke. They get it done, and I'm going with Muhammad at the defensive line position for week two.
That's going to be a fun pick. The Pac 12 was so competitive this year, too. I forgot
Oh
to
man,
mention that earlier. But man, it's hard not to pick out of the Pac 12 right now,
yeah,
too.
it's such a shame that conference isn't going to stay like the way it is now with like the talent they have coming in, and a large part of that has to do with them going to the Big Ten. But I mean, if it were for the sole sake of the Pac-12, man, that would be one hell of a conference to watch in the next few years. But I guess we'll never know. You know what I mean?
Tip your hats to the Pac 12 this year, y'all.
Yeah, no, exactly. Stay up late, watch those games because it won't be the same. Those late night Pac-12 games. Grew up watching those, and it's gonna be a shame seeing those go. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? But Yeah, man. Let's go on to the linebacker position. Who you got for linebacker this week?
So last week I picked a linebacker from North Carolina, Cedric Gray. He did really good against South Carolina. Well, I want to pick another North Carolina linebacker, Amari Gainer. He played he had 2 sacks against South Carolina, I believe, and they play in-state rival Appalachian State this week. So I think, and App State presents a challenge for anybody. And
Oh
this is
yeah.
one of those games where Tar Heels are coming off of a big win last week against South Carolina in college game day. But this is one of those games that you could see a top team go down if you're not careful. They took down A&M last year, and it could very well be North Carolina this year. You never know. But I think this is one of those. I think this is one of those games where you will see him in most of the game.
Yeah, no, that's definitely an under the radar matchup. Like you said, the App State, they upset Texas A&M last year when Texas A&M had all this hype. And yeah, North Carolina doesn't have that same hype, but I mean, hey, they're still a top team in the ACC, and App State taking them down wouldn't be a surprise to me. So definitely a little bit of a gamble there, but it's a smart one. Those North Carolina linebackers seem to know what they're doing. We haven't even mentioned Power Eccles yet, and he could be easily their most dynamic linebacker. So they definitely know what they're doing back there. But for my linebacker pick, I'm getting my true freshman off the board. I'm going with Suntarine Perkins out of Ole Miss. I mean, when you start a true freshman in week one, I mean, you got to have a little bit of faith in him. And he came through with 9 tackles, 4 of those being solo tackles, a sack, and a pass deflection. Like he came right out there and kind of just did his thing. As a true freshman, that's kind of hard to find sometimes. So I'm going with him, and he's my linebacker for week 2.
First, having a true freshman on the road, dangerous environment, going to Tulane, that's gonna be a fun one to watch, especially because he's going up against Michael Pratt, who I picked earlier. But that one's gonna be a fun one for us to watch. We always end up
Yeah.
picking players that go against each other at some point. We did last week, I know that.
Yeah, I mean, as just a college football fan, if Alabama and Texas wasn't this week, I would be so hyped up for that Tulane Ole Miss matchup. Not that I'm not, anyways, but it's just a shame that matchup just kind of gets swept under the rug a little bit because of the magnitude of that Alabama Texas matchup. But it's definitely going to be one where if Tulane comes away with it, they're going to be like, "Hey, Tulane's back and here to stay," kind of. So it's definitely going to be a statement for both teams, and like you said, definitely going to be a fun one to watch.
Oh yeah. And well, speaking of true freshmen going on the road, let's dive into cornerbacks because I want to pick Texas freshman cornerback Malik Muhammad. I know this everybody's going to say, "Oh, look at him picking Texas players throughout the video." Yes, yes, I know, but he's going on the road. This is a big game, and he got 5 tackles last week, 5 solo tackles last week, and that was against Rice. And teams always want to challenge the freshman players. Like when you play against them, they're always like taking on the freshmen and like seeing what they can do. And I think he'll step up this week. I think he really will.
Yeah, no, that's a great pick. Great pick. So I'm going back to USC for my pick. I'm going with Domani Jackson, 10 tackles, 8 of those being solo and 2 pass deflections. I mean, I kind of just got done saying it. Those USC, the secondary guys especially, they know how to get it done and all that. And Domani Jackson, of course, coming out of high school, he was a top 3 recruit in his class. So the talent is definitely there. And I think, the consistency will be too. So I'm going with him at my cornerback slot.
I like that pick. I like that pick.
Yeah, yeah. So to kind of finish it off now, let's finish it up with safety. Who you got at safety for the week?
Alrighty. So for safety, last week when we saw Colorado take down TCU, headlines talking about Deion Sanders, Shador Sanders, Travis Hunter, player that went under the radar, led the team in tackles at safety, Shiloh Sanders. And I want to pick him. He had 10 total tackles, 9 solo. And, you talk about his brother Shador, Travis Hunter, and his father Deion, but he led his side of the ball. So, I mean, that was big game against Nebraska is all I can say. And I think he'll come through again for his team.
Yeah, I really like that pick. Like you said, the headlines kind of left him out for some reason. He's got that Sanders last name too, so and he balled out just like Shador did and all that, just on the opposite side of the ball. But I really like that pick. It's definitely a slept on pick, but I really like that pick, man, for sure. And to round it out with my pick, I'm going with a Georgia guy. Georgia guys on defense, you can't really seem to go wrong with. I'm going with Malachi Starks. Coming into the season, he was one of the best safeties in the country, and he seemed to show it in their opener against UT Martin. 8 tackles, 3 solo, 5 assists, and a pass deflection. They got Ball State this coming week, so it might not be a game where he stays in the whole time, but the production will be there. Whether it comes early or if he stays in the whole game, who knows? But I'm going with Malachi Starks, a talent like that. I feel like you can't really go wrong.
Oh yeah, you're definitely right. Whether he's in the whole game or not, he's gonna get his numbers. So, just like he did last week, that's a great pick.
Yeah, yeah. So there's our teams for week 2. Let us know what y'all think. Who's going to do well? Who's going to win the week? Josh leads the series 1-0, so I'm hoping to tie it back up, and hopefully I won't dig myself into a hole too deep that I can't come out of. But hey, man, that's the beauty of college football. You never really know what's going to happen, and you know, while we might be trying our best to figure it out, we don't know what's going to happen, and that's the whole point of this series. Just kind of taking a bunch of gambles and see what's going to happen. So there's our picks for week 2, and let us know what y'all think.
Yeah, let us know, guys. This has been a great series so far.
Yep. All right, Josh. Appreciate you.